if they do that, they're going to be, the Cougs will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Wilson! Oh! And we are tied!
Let's go! Call them by Slamma.
And I don't ever let them forget where we come from.
Getting those phones out. Report me acting ignorant.
Down, Dean Connors. Found some daylight. Found the end zone. Touchdown, Houston.
Seventh heaven for Houston. The Cougars advance to their seventh Final Four.
Go Cougs! Let's go! It's so good! The dream remains alive for the Houston Cougars!
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. We're coming off a big 79-55 victory for the 8th ranked Houston Cougars in the country over a hot UCF team who came into this matchup winners of 3 straight in a row in the Big 12 with pretty big victories, including the headliner over Texas Tech. Houston was able to take care of business at home against a familiar opponent in the Knights, and quite frankly, they were able to look dominant to do it despite a slow start offensively. We're able to create separation towards the end of the first half and then get them at bay throughout the second half, and we're able to expand the lead. But before we get into any of the specifics of this game, first and foremost, we'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, which of course this is Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. Of course, we also like to say thank you to today's secondary sponsor on the show, which is Star Pizza, with multiple locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before and after the games. There we go. We put the logo on the screen. Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review will be joining us shortly. He's currently live from inside of the Fertitta Center and is still in the middle of the Kelvin Sampson post-game presser, so going a little bit long. Joining me, as always, Dayon Dunlap. How are you doing, sir, on this Wednesday night?
Man, I'm doing well. Enjoyed a really good BTA. I mean, we got after, and a lot of people looked well, played well, especially Kris and Kingston.
Yes, sir. I mean, we got to start with the 2 freshmen who've been the story really overwhelmingly for a majority of the season has been the story for the Houston Cougars. Kingston Flemings had a great game, had a bounce-back shooting night after not shooting it as effectively this past game against Cincinnati. He had 18 points on an efficient 8 of 12 shooting, was 0 for 2 from the field, but got back to his usual assist-to-turnover ratio. We've kind of gotten accustomed. He had 6 assists in this victory, only 1 turnover. Also added in 3 rebounds, and like you mentioned, Dayon, Chris Cenac, 14 points, 10 rebounds, had 2 assists himself, no turnovers in 29 minutes of action. He was an efficient 7 of 13 from the field, even despite his 3-ball not falling. He was 0 for 4. Milo Uzan rounded out Houston with the double-digit scorers in this game. He was also an efficient 5 of 7 from the field for 12 points. He had 2 rebounds and 2 assists with only 1 turnover. And Houston as a team shot very effectively in this game against UCF. They shot 54% from the field, which is an interesting stat line. 54% from the field, just 15% on threes. So they kind of won a little old school, getting inside 3-point line, and they kind of outgrinded UCF and really imposed their will against the Knights in this game.
And this is like Crabtree was saying, I think this is probably the most complete game that we've seen thus far. And I think it really started with the rebound. It looked like one of the Houston teams of old. I mean, a lot of those offensive rebounds, those 12, came in the first half, and they kind of went on a stretch there where they dominated, and that's how they kind of upped their points in the paint. And Kingston's ability to get in the paint and break down the defense, his first step, is next level. And so the way that they were able to drive and just really attack, but control the glass, I think that was the difference. That was how they was able to build that lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the first half where Houston kind of opened the game relatively cold, at least for Houston standards. They were ultimately able to weather the storm and start seeing shots fall. But even in that stretch when Houston, the shots were falling for them, they were able to not let UCF build a lead. I mean, it was one of them old schools. It's like a throwback in terms of the early Kelvin Sampson days whenever Houston would win games in defensive battles, which is something that's very positive to see when it comes to this Houston Cougars team because, at times it stretches, you kind of would see a little slippage. That was not the case tonight. Their defense was solid, and then eventually when the shots started falling, and the defense stayed steady, stayed really, really good, and UCF really had no chance. It was not really a competitive game for most of the night.
It wasn't, and I wouldn't say I expected a blowout, but I did expect us to win by at least double-digit points. But the way we looked, I think we're going to go undefeated at home, which is nothing new. But we just didn't look like they didn't belong on the floor with us, really.
Yeah. And that was a little surprising as we let's see here, let's transition real quick to this two-person screen. It was very surprising because I guess it's different, right? UCF, they've picked up a lot of big wins. A lot of their big wins, they beat Kansas earlier in the season, and that happened on the road in Orlando. But their record heading into this game, they were 17-4. They have had put together a really solid, impressive season so far coming in. Even when they played
They had
Arizona,
had a lot of confidence coming in. Yeah.
yeah, when they played Arizona, they played them tight. Iowa State, that game got away, but um, you'd expect with the familiarity that they have with the Houston Cougars, maybe it'd be a little bit more competitive. And that just wasn't the case for Houston in this game, and that's a testament to the Cougars themselves and something that Kris harps on. He mentioned it Saturday after Houston beat Cincinnati, right after UCF had toppled Texas Tech, that they were going to be locked in because of what they were able to accomplish, and that was the case. They didn't play with their food, for the lack of a better analogy or comparison. They were straight business, and once the shots started falling, they just left UCF in the dust.
Yeah, and the defense was locked down. I mean, they couldn't do nothing. I mean, they couldn't get into any sets, and just the pressure was really enabled the offense, the defense, to turn the defense into offense, and then get those second chance points, and really just kind of took their will and did it early. That way, like you said, it wasn't close late.
And it's good for Houston. They don't have to play UCF in Orlando this season, which is, like I said, that's been where they've kind of really taken advantage of a lot of their top tier wins so far this season. Um, on the Houston perspective, looking ahead, because they have a big game this upcoming Saturday on the road in Provo against 16th ranked BYU. Obviously, we know the level of talent that the other Cougars have coming into this matchup. This is a good one for Houston. Now, on the season, they improved to 20-2. They are 8-1 when it comes to Big 12 play. And kind of a fun factor, stat worthy note about this victory for Houston. It's not now marks the 11th straight season for Houston where they've won 20 or more games in a single season. So again, not always good to reflect on just the level of excellence and dominance that the Houston Cougars have established under head coach Kelvin Sampson for now over a decade plus, which is truly, truly astounding and remarkable. And we kind of it's easy for it to just overlook it. 20 wins for Houston has become the standard, but that's 11 years where the standard has been really high and a level of success that it's always good to pause and take a moment's notice of how really awesome and successful they have been under Kelvin Sampson the past 10 plus years now.
Yeah, like I said it last time, we can't take it for granted because it's been so impressive, and fans have now used to winning. Now, if we don't win, it's like, oh, we lost. Who do we lose to? And so, just that expectation, that level of dominance, especially at home. I mean, it speaks volumes to Coach Sampson and what he's able to build. And now the level of talent and the expectation of getting to a national championship, I think is kind of waking up even more Houston fans and even more. I wouldn't say. Well, I think still notoriety because they're still gaining national notoriety, although
Yeah.
they've been having the consistency throughout the year. So I think just another good run right here, especially with Kingston probably getting drafted in the lottery. I think the brand itself will continue to grow and grow, especially if they end up having another deep run.
Speaking of BYU, they're in a battle so far in their matchup against Oklahoma State. They're tied at 41 and a half. I think they might have just ended the first half on a 13-0 run because they were down double digits in that game. They might have been down 41 to 28, and they ended the half on a 13-0 run to tie it. That's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out and kind of where BYU's coming into that matchup. Speaking about Houston and UCF specifically, and Dayon, going back to your point about how well Houston really defended the Knights in this game. As a team, UCF shot just 30% from the field. You look at some of their top players, and they were really on lockdown for much of the game. Jordan Burks got held to an inefficient 2 for 12 shooting night, and Themis Folks only 3 of 10 shooting. Uh, Gosh, you look top to bottom. There was a lot of players for UCF that had these kinds of numbers, and dang, they did not have a single player that got into double figures scoring wise. So just again, a very dominant performance for Houston on the defensive end. And tonight, what they haven't done consistently as much so far this season, they also won the battle on the boards. They out rebounded UCF 40-29. So this very well was a pretty much a vintage Houston performance that we've kind of been accustomed to over the years, which is good to see from this year's team that we haven't seen that level of dominance as consistently over the course of the entire season so far.
Yeah, it was, and that's what I was thinking when I was watching the game, especially just the way they was able to dominate on the glass, and that, and I feel like Chris Cenac, if he can get more touches, I think we'll continue to see some of these larger margin victories because Kingston going to continue to play like he's been playing, and our role players are now, I feel like, getting a lot more confidence. But Mercy, man, well, I know eventually we'll talk about him, but I mean,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
He's like we mentioned on Saturday, he's making the most out of his opportunity. And now, granted, Chase McCarty's still dealing with that injury he suffered on Saturday. Only played 2 minutes tonight for Houston, but in that absence, Mercy Miller has come in and he's just making the most out of his minutes. Played 16 minutes tonight, had 9 points on an efficient 4-7 shooting, got 3 rebounds, got an assist. Most importantly, didn't turn the ball over. He's hitting all the boxes, and he's gonna make it really hard, even when Chase McCarty is 100%. Like there, he's earned minutes. He's making the most out of his opportunity, and I don't see how don't keep him consistently in a rotation now after what he's done these back-to-back games.
agree 100%, 100%. And I think his efficiency, what he was able to do in these back-to-back games, is really what we need, especially on offensive end. And then, like you said, then you add an assist ability to make a play as well, and not turn the ball over, grab a couple of rebounds. I definitely think he deserves minutes. I think the display the way he put on tonight, the way it looked, it looked impressive. The kind of the crowd was getting into it, and all of his teammates, of course. But I think he's has earned those minutes and hopefully gets some. I mean, we've been clamoring for what, a few weeks now.
I mean, we've been
Yeah,
clamoring it. The fans have been clamoring
the
for it
host,
since
yeah,
since basically November. I know
all year,
Fluff has been a
months.
proponent for Mercy as well, and it's good to see him now that he is getting that opportunity. He's taking it and he's running with it, which is exactly what you got to do. And that shows the level of his mental fortitude too, right? Very easily when you have, I'm sure he's seen. I mean, in this digital age, it's almost impossible to avoid it, but I'm sure he was seeing or having people in here like, dang, Mercy should be playing this, and that. And sometimes you can hear that, and your mentality. We're all human, right? You hear that, your mentality can kind of sour. Doesn't seem like that's been the case, and it's a testament to his work ethic, and he stayed ready. And now that he is getting that opportunity, he's making the most of it.
I think he trusts the process, trusts the staff that when his time is going to come, and just trust the mantra of earning the minutes and taking advantage of when he does. And if you do that, you'll be rewarded. So, like we're saying, I think he will be rewarded if he continues to perform in the minutes that he has. And I think it's going to be much needed. We've been needing consistent offensive points off the bench, and if he's giving us that, because Isaiah had a rough shooting night as well. He struggled to make shots, and so it's going to be vital if Mercer can continue to be this consistent and efficient.
Real quickly, I'd like to take this moment to once again thank today's sponsors on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, beginning with Steve Saxenian, who is the primary sponsor not only of this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, but each and every single LRC postgame show. Once again, LRC, the original Houston postgame show after each and every single football and men's basketball game. We're coming off a 79-55 victory for the 8th ranked Houston Cougars, and also a big thank you to Mike. To Star Pizza. Big shout out to Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Star Pizza for being a secondary sponsor on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs with multiple locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Be sure to check them out online at starpizza.net or check out their social media pages, Star Pizza HOU on X, Star Pizza Houston, Texas on Instagram, and check out one of their Houston area locations, and most importantly, tell them you heard about them here on Let's Rage Coogs. Coogs helping Coogs. With that being said, I want to go to one of our comments. We have a good amount of comments here on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs. A big thank you to all of you guys that are taking the time out of your Wednesday nights to join us and talk about Houston's win. Let's see, where can I find it? It was Hunter's comment about the rebounding battle. And here it is. He says he feels like this is the best rebounding game of the season so far. It felt that way live. And I'm going to see if I can go back. But just when it comes to rebound margin, I think this is definitely towards the top when it comes to total rebounding margins that Houston has had, especially against, the top, a Big 12, a Big 12 school, one of the top schools compared to, some of the maybe December, November games that they might have played in where, they're not playing the cream of the crop early in the season. This is definitely up there when it comes to rebounding margin. And I'll go back in a second, see if I can exactly pinpoint where this game falls in terms of that rebounding margin. But again, they did a good job of finishing possessions. And, like you mentioned, Dayon Dunlap, 10 rebounds. He gets his double-double. He's been really Mr. Consistent on the boards all year long for Houston. But today, we got the guards getting into the action. Like I said earlier, Fleming's got 3 rebounds. Manuel Uzan had 2. Emmanuel Sharp had 3, which is big time, specifically for Uzan and Sharp, who've had a couple of games where they finished with 1 or sometimes a donut in the rebounding category. Isaiah Harwell, you mentioned Dayon. He didn't shoot well, but he still got 2 rebounds, had 2 assists. Ramon Walker came in there. You know what he's going to give you in his minutes. He got 3 rebounds. Khalifa Sacco got 7 rebounds in his 22 minutes of action. And Mercy Miller, like I said, he came in there, had 3 rebounds. A true team performance, which I agree with some of these comments from our viewers. I think this very well is arguably one of the most top complete performances from start to finish for this Houston Cougars team here in early February.
Yeah, and that's what I said what stood out to me was the rebounding. And it looked like a vintage Houston team. And the way they dominated collectively, I think, was the difference. And I'm sure that's going to be something Coach Simpson is going to hone into. It always hones in on the guards coming in and crashing the boards. But it definitely was. I agree it was. Watching live, it stood out. And I think that's going to be the key because that cleaning up and getting defensive rebounds, that's important. But I wonder if how many times in the season Houston has had double-digit offensive rebounds. I think that's what's been missing. That's what stood out to me today because they had 12, and we'll have to go back and see. But I don't think it's been many that they would have double-digit offensive rebounds this season. And to do it against UCF, like you said, a Big 12 team, I mean, there has to be a confidence booster.
Absolutely. And again, heading into this big matchup against BYU on the horizon and just looking top to bottom, they're going to get tested. Houston is the schedule kind of beefs up in terms of the high caliber teams of the Big 12. They're about to play with Iowa State. Now, obviously, BYU on Saturday, Arizona a couple of weeks from now at home. Um, Kansas on the horizon. So this Houston team is about to get into the meat and potatoes of their season. They are going to be tested, and these are the type of performances they are going to beat the cream of the crop of the Big 12. They're going to have to be able to do this on a consistent basis. And going back to some of the comment that we mentioned on Saturday about, I can't remember if it was you, Dayon, or if it was Kris that asked. It might have been a viewer actually, and I think Kris read it. When do freshmen stop being freshmen? And Fluff said around this time in February. And now we need to have these consistent performances, and not just from Senac, who for the most part has done a good job rebounding. And we know what Kingston Flemings has brought to the table for this Houston Cougars team. But some of these new additions too, and Sacco, he's going to be a key contributor. He's got to be able to, go out there, rebound, know where he's supposed to be on defense, change shots in relief for JoJo Tugler. JoJo has to, one, stay out of foul trouble, and then when he is on the court, grab rebounds himself too. I mean, today he only had 5 rebounds, only played 14 minutes in tonight's game, but he's very important as well too, and it's going to be a total team effort, both from the guards and from the bigs, if they are going to be those top premier schools of the Big 12.
I mean, I agree. I definitely agree. I think Chris Senac is going to be a big key of that and a big part of that. And as he can, I think it takes more shot attempts. That's one thing I was looking at. Him and Kingston led in shot attempts tonight. I think I'm just going to change on the game to game because it is, but him particularly getting more shot attempts is something that I think could be more beneficial for the team as well too.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's always good to have just a variety, a plethora of weapons top to bottom, because like we've seen, and I think this is actually something that's been a strength of this Houston Cougars team um, throughout this season, because, you know, on Saturday, for example, Kingston Flemings has an off shooting night, but then we have different players come in and step up. We've seen Miles Uzan at times, right, have games where he struggles from shooting from the field, and Kingston Flemings picks it up. Kris Gardner picks it up. Emmanuel Sharp, who for the most part has been relatively consistent on a night in and night out basis, giving you into at least double digit scoring. Tonight he only had 8 points. Houston won by 24, and I think that's something that could make this Houston team very, very deadly. As we welcome in Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Ball Review. Big shout out Giovanni8209 on YouTube for the super sticker. Appreciate it very much for supporting Let's Rage Coogs. Kris, how are you doing on this Wednesday night?
I'm doing great, fellas. My apologies for being late. Started off, Coach Dawkins came to the room late, and so that pushed everything back. And then Coach Sampson, Mercy Miller, and Khalifa had were in the press conference in the last 8 minutes or so. Coach Sampson, I asked him about this game. It's no secret, as I do every year when he wears a shirt for you racism. Coach Sampson is one of the coaches on the board, and I'm one of the media people on the board. So I always get a chance to ask him that question. And he provided history of back when North Carolina Negro College played Duke years ago in a secret game because during segregation, black teams couldn't play white teams. And so when they put that game together, and so Coach Sampson wore a different shirt. You'll see pictures of it on Twitter. My colleagues took pictures of it. Chris Baldwin, Chancellor Johnson, Joseph Duarte. Coach is auctioning off the tennis shoes he wore from tonight's game for a good cause. So all of that to say, I always appreciate him giving answers about that, providing history about it. But to the game, I want to say this. I didn't have time to get all the comments from Coach Dawkins, but Coach Dawkins said something that we have said during many of our Let's Rage Cougs shows. When players who have never faced Houston Cougar defense before, it is a major adjustment for them. And Coach Dawkins was very candid. He said, my guys had never experienced Houston's defense before. So this was a wake-up call for them. So in a nutshell. So he said it. He has a brand new team. So his whole team, none of them have played against the Cougars before. And it showed.
Which is crazy to think about, considering some of the top programs in the Big 12 that they've already faced this season.
Yeah. And Houston defense is different than Iowa State's defense. It's a different kind of physicality. Coach Dawkins said that it's a different kind of physicality. I mean, this is the same team that beat Texas Tech Saturday
Yeah.
and beat them on the boards. I mean, they were more physical than they were. But tonight, they missed 13 straight shots and struggled to make shots from 3, struggled to make shots from 2. They were out of sorts, and Houston finally got their offense going. And I'm sure you touched on it. Houston, late at halftime, was leading by a lot. They did not make a three-pointer in the first half.
Yeah.
They missed their first 13 threes and were still up by 20 points.
Well, that's something that we touched on overall as in this game. They only shot 3 for 19 from the three-point line, a very inefficient 15%. But then you look at their overall field goal percentage, they shot over 50% at 54% from the field. So they found a way to make UCF pay, even though when their outside shots weren't falling, which is something that we've talked about, our viewers have mentioned in the past, right? But they showed a versatility, a different way to win, which is good. I think this, Kris, I'm curious to get your thoughts. I feel like overall, at least since conference play has started, and I'm curious to get your thoughts, but I feel like this is the most complete win that Houston's put together so far in conference play. Now that they're exactly at the halfway point of the 18-game conference schedule, and they're 8-1.
Probably have to go over the previous games that they've had so far in conference play.
And my camera went dead.
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know what happened. I see it all here. I haven't touched anything. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I don't know. It's back now. It's going in and out. That's strange. Now his mic is out. His mic is off. But the defense is getting better. I'm curious to see how this defense does this Saturday in Provo against BYU's Big Three. Richie Saunders is playing great basketball. AJ DeMonsa is playing much better at home than he is so far on the road in Big 12 play. And Mr. Wright at the point guard running the offense. So I'm looking forward to that, seeing how the defense travels, the physicality of everything travels. We'll see how AJ does against Houston Cougars defense. But this was a solid win. Struggle to make shots at some points. But if y'all touched on Khalifa Sacco's 7 points and a lot of alley-oop attempts he got tonight.
Well, we didn't touch on his offensive part performance yet, but we just overall he had a really great game. Also added 7 rebounds, almost fouled out of the game, but in 22 minutes, I mean, can't ask more from your backup big man. He was solid tonight.
And the one question he was asked, he said he's trying to match JoJo Tugler's energy when he comes in for JoJo. And I think Khalifa's figuring it out. I think he's getting healthier. I think his back is bothering him a little bit because he wears a heating pad when he's not in the game while he's sitting on the bench. But he was crashing on the floor. I mean, on defense, he was trying to block everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was chasing after all kinds of stuff for help side defense. So he must be feeling better and more confident in himself. And that's a good thing. That's a positive with him. Let's see him be consistent. Let's see him bring that same energy and effort on these 2 road games coming up. That's
the big test, right? He had one performance, really solid. The key for him is consistency. And if he is able to be consistent, that's just going to unlock, I should say, another layer to this Houston Cougars team that's ultimately not only going to make them more complete, but it's going to be, honestly, what Houston needs if they are going to indeed go back to that first Monday in April, this time finish a job. He's going to have to be this consistent for them to achieve their goals.
And individuals have to be consistent as well. You know, different guys stepped up. Mercy Miller played well offensively. He's playing. You know, it's good to see him in post game as well. You know, he said he's stacking days, good days now. He's learned to do that. He's learned to take the criticism from the coaches and learning how to stack good practice days on top of each other. So that's a plus going forward. Anybody who's watched Let's Rage Coogs for the start of this season knows that I want. I would love to see Coach Sam go 10 deep, consistently play a 10-man rotation rather than 9. That's me. I'm not Coach Sampson. So I would love to see consistently Mercy Miller getting minutes and Isaiah and Khalifa and Ramon and Chase. But maybe we'll see that now. Maybe the guys are getting healthier and playing better in practice, practicing better, and coach is getting more comfortable giving them minutes. So that's a positive going forward if that is the case.
Speaking of Mercy, something that Dayon and I touched on before you got hopped on here is really, again, building off of Saturday. Look, he's taking advantage of the opportunity that has arisen due to injuries. And to me, I said that that's a real testament to really his mentality, where he stayed ready this whole time and he's making the most out of his opportunity.
And he did mention that he stayed ready. He didn't get down on himself, or get down on anything else. The situation. And one of the things Coach Sampson did mention was it was big for Mercy to come back this season.
Yeah, that too.
So that
Hardly
was
played last year.
so it's another example of the culture, because I had forgotten about it, but I knew it when I said it earlier. UCF team is brand new. Coach Dawkins lost everybody from last year, like Baylor. Completely new team this year. You're seeing how different results are happening for UCF compared to Baylor. UCF's had way more success with a completely new roster than Baylor is having. But it is a testament to the Houston Cougars culture to have so many players return, especially guys who did not play a lot. Because in this era, guys who don't play a lot may decide to leave to go somewhere else where they can get either more money, more minutes, or both. And Mercy decided to stick it out. And we'll see. And let's bring this up, Andy, on tonight here on February 4th edition of Let's Rage Coogs. The way things are right now, Milos is gone, Emmanuel is gone, Kingston's probably a top 10, top 5 lottery pick. He's gone. If Mercy decides to return, Mercy could be getting a lot of minutes next year. So,
yeah,
it could be his.
That's crazy how quick.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy how quick that's gonna shoot.
So that's a key part of the culture. Because think about this, and I've thought about it a few times. With all those guys leaving, and include Ramon, who's going to be around, who's going to return, probably JoJo, and could be Mercy, to teach the culture, to maintain the culture, because there's a lot of guys who are going to leave next year, especially guys who got minutes, because, teaching the culture, said Lott and Jacob, they've been here a while, but, they didn't play. So where's that culture? Who's going to be the culture establisher, trendsetter next year for the team? Not saying that the winning is still going to continue. It's just going to be done differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. I mean, like you said, I brought up this note following the victory, obviously tonight for Houston. They improved to 20-2, which is now the 11th straight year under head coach Kelvin Sampson. The Houston has won 20 or more games. That goes in line with that culture, and really, it's a testament where hopefully everybody can take a step back and acknowledge just the once in a generation type of success that Houston is having right now.
And you touched on that, the 20 wins again. That's one thing. I'm going to play a lot of coaches' press conference, the Cougar press conference on Thursday's Houston Roundball Review Takeover show, airing noon on Roku and on YouTube tomorrow. So I'm going to record that later on tonight after I do this show, honestly. But that's one thing you touched on, was the culture and how some people, some programs, fans of some programs, take it for granted, take the winning for granted. And he said, and including media in other cities, that take the winning for granted and don't get excited about, ho-hum, another 20-win season. For the most part, that is not the case here in Houston, because the fans remember how it was in the beginning, when there's hardly anybody here in the building. It's a brand new team, had to establish a culture, had to bring in talent, had to piecemeal talent. And so to see where the program is now, there are some, not a lot, but there are some fans who take this winning for granted, who take this magical journey that we are experiencing for granted. But Coach doesn't. He doesn't want fans to lose sight of how far the program has come. And to that end, he said on his own, he repeated, it's been a while since he said this, but he reminded folks that Houston athletics is one of the poorest in Power 4 athletics in terms of budget, touching on the budgetary problems we have. He said at Houston, we're a poor program. We're a
And
poor
they're
athletics.
so behind when you think of
So
the
we're so
teams
far
that have
behind in
been.
terms of NIL. He touched on recruiting. And regarding NIL, if there are Houston is limited budget wise, in terms of flights and trips and paying probably some players, some top tier players that Houston may look at, they can't get because it's not in the budget to go to spend for those players. So that is still a reality of the situation, that Houston athletics is a poor program. Still have a long way to go to catch up to a lot of the other Big 12 schools in terms of budget. But continue chipping in, doing what you can. It all adds up. Every little bit adds up. And we said here on Let's Rage Coogs that there are 300,000 alums living in Greater Houston. Just imagine if all of them chipped in $100 every year. It's $10 a month.
Less than $10 a month.
Think about that. That would help the athletic budget. And that's what.
Really think about it.
Is that Chancellor? Chancellor Johnson?
Yes.
Hey, Chancellor, how
It
you
is.
doing? Tell him I said what's up.
Andy says hi.
Someone said what's up.
He says what's
I
up.
heard him. I appreciate it.
But it's we are still the little engine because we are so far behind everybody else in the Big 12 and the Big 10, the SEC, and some of the schools in the ACC. But it doesn't mean we can't get it done. We have to do our part. All of us have to do our part. I'm getting on my soapbox now because I'm a proud alum. We have to do our part. And that I'm not asking you to chip in money you don't have, but if you have the means, contribute to Let's Rage Cougs first, but more importantly, contribute to Houston Athletics. Contribute to the university where you got your degree. You chose to come to UH for a reason. You earned your degree. You put in that time. You put in the effort. You put in the long hours to get your degree, to study and do all those things. Support UH. Support athletics. Do your part there as well. Don't break your budget, but set aside a budget and say, hey, I'm going to contribute to my mater for athletics. I'm going to do my part because it all adds up. Every little bit adds up. Anything is better than nothing. Don't say, well, my money's not going to count. My money's not going to doesn't mean anything like Tillman's money. We need to stop having that defeatist attitude. Stop the woe was me stuff. Because Andy, one thing, right, Andy? Houston Cougars basketball still runs Big 12. Okay, but we need to do our part as well to continue making sure Houston basketball, then Houston football, Houston baseball, women's basketball, track and field, softball, golf, all of our sports to win that whatever it is, Commissioner's Cup, to compete for the top athletic program in the country year in, year out. Let's be great in all of our sports, but let's also do our part to help those sports be great year in, year out.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better myself. Look at that. We got the full screen. I'm trying to figure out. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with EV Mugs. Got the whole. Got you on your soapbox, Kris. I think we can start calling this a segment, Kris, because we don't know. It's kind of like a mystery backdrop you got back there. We don't know who's gonna appear. What special guest is gonna appear from your backdrop?
Yep.
We had Bilal. A couple of weeks ago, now we have Chancellor Johnson. We're going to start. That's going to be a segment over here. If you never know, that's why you watch Let's Rage Coogs. First of all, we never know who's going to be a guest coming out of Kris's backdrop. which is a perfect segue, by the way, if you are interested in helping, supporting Cougs, helping Cougs. Like I said earlier in the show, and obviously like Kris just mentioned, you can do so by reaching out to us via that email, letsragecougs@gmail.com. We have plans to be at the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City in mid-March or early March, mid-March, covering Houston throughout the Big 12 tournament. Hopefully, Houston is home for the NCAA tournament Sweet 16 Elite 8 rounds, right? But when they get to Indianapolis,
Yes, sir. I like what you said that. When they get
Let's
to
Rage Coogs.
Indianapolis, yes.
Let's Rage Coogs will be at Indianapolis. Big thank you to everybody that has supported us so far, beginning with Steve Saxenian, the primary sponsor on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs. Big thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Star Pizza for being consistent sponsors on Let's Rage Coogs. Big thank you to our friend of the show from the UH Bauer School for helping us out on our upcoming trips to the Big 12 tournament. So Hunter Ange couldn't have said it better myself. He needs to see Kris acting ignorant. Kris, we all need
And
to see you acting ignorant.
I want it to be.
We
I want to
came,
become a viral meme. Who is this man running around acting ignorant? What is?
we
Why is he
came,
doing all this? Yes, I
and
want to do
we came so close to having that happen in April, this past April, but 2026 it's when it will happen. Speak it into existence.
that. And Texas Overlander, I see your question. This was the first year.
Hmm.
Year 3 in the Big 12 is the first year that Houston Athletics receives a full Big 12 share, which is a huge help. Clearly, obviously, that's a huge help, no doubt. But
They
as
need
Coach
more.
Sampson has said to us, and I think he said it publicly as well, Houston, this is the first year being a full share, but compared to the
Texas
schools that have
Tech
been in Big
has
12
been there
for
since the
30
beginning.
years,
Yeah.
we're 30 years behind still, So we just need to just do our part. I'm asking everybody to do their part. I'm not asking you to go broke. Just do your part. Do what you can to support our alma mater, and specifically Houston Athletics. And I'm hoping to speak to Andy Yanez in the next few days and post that interview here on Houston Round Bar View YouTube as well.
That's why you need to stay tuned and support, subscribe, like, share via word of mouth. Anybody that you know that's a Houston fan in your life, and if you can support financially, reach out to us as well. That's why, again, big thank you to. Let's see if I can pull it up here one more time. But big thank you to Giovanni8209. Even something as small as a super sticker, right? We appreciate every little thing.
Everything adds up. It all adds up.
So
We're never going to be too big to say, "Is that all you gave?" That's
hell
never
no.
going to happen. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
No,
Hell no.
We're independent. We're small, but we're growing. And I'm going to say it again. We from the Big 12, we received the email to apply for the Big 12 tournament. What, last week? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
And we got approved within 24 hours.
Hmm.
Okay, folks. So let me say that again. I know you are all UH fans and fans of Let's Rage Coogs. We got the email notification from the Big 12. Okay, the Big 12, 2 weeks ago, and we got approved within 24 hours. So we're doing something right. That the conference is recognizing us and for what we're doing, recognizing our work and what we're putting in. We're on the grind. We're continuing to grind, and who knows, we might have a few things up our sleeve while we're in Kansas City doing some shows and providing some other content with my man Andy and his young brain. You'll have some ideas to help promote sponsors and different ideas. Get your word out there. Cougs up and Cougs. We got all kinds of ways to help you out. Because I'll wait. Because
Kris, that's a perfect segue to. Let's see, where is it? At the bottom, you see it scrolling on the ticker, right? But follow us on all our social media platforms on X at PodSlimeJamma, Instagram and TikTok, all lowercase. Let's Rage Coogs. One more time on X is at PodSlimeJamma. On Instagram, TikTok, it's Let's Rage Coogs, all lowercase. Big thank you to everybody that's taking the time out of their Wednesday night to join us. If you're watching us live, if you're watching us after on demand streaming, Big thank y'all as well. Leave a comment. And if you're watching us on X, leave a comment. But Facebook, YouTube, both on our Houston Roundball Review YouTube, the Pod Slamma Jamma YouTube, on Facebook, your personal channel, Kris, and your Houston Roundball Review Facebook channel. We're on Twitch. So we're trying to to use an analogy, right? It's like we're NASA. We're sending it to as many places as we
Yep.
can get. You know what I mean? And we're trying to. Nita's 5922. Big thank you for that $20 super sticker. Uh,
And
per,
Nita's
per character dancing under a rain, confetti, and taking his hat off to say, "You are amazing. You
Nita's
are
is
amazing."
also
Big
was
thank you.
a supporter, a member of the Houston Roundball Review YouTube members only section. So I want to get that growing as well. That's another way to support the Houston Roundball Review. In addition to the merch, the super stickers, super chats, all those different ways. We have a whole lot of different ways to show your support or support. Let's Rage Coogs, Pod Slamma Jamma, Houston Roundball Review. We are independent, but we are growing. And honestly, I'm just very proud of us and the recognition that we are getting from the Big 12, from the conference office. Okay, that's a big deal, folks. I'm really trying to hammer that home for you all to understand. Little old us, we got approved to attend the Big 12 tournament in less than 24 hours. Okay, little old us. Think about that. And I'm not throwing shade at any of our colleagues. Nothing of the sort. But little old us, little old Let's Rage Coogs, little old Houston Roundball Review, little old Pod Slamma Jamma got approved within 24 hours to attend the Big 12 tournament. We're not part of Locked On, none of those bigger
No
outlets.
national ties.
We're not Field of 68, nothing like
Yet.
that yet.
Yet.
But we got approved in less than 24 hours. So it's
Yeah, Crabtree's coming. Houston does so much with so little.
So do we.
Football, we another insane transfer class. That's an amazing time to be a cool. Kris, you read my mind. That's where I was gonna go. I mean, honestly, we do. I mean, not I don't want to be on my soapbox, but that should put in perspective that we're all, you know, you, myself, Dayon, you, and Fluff, right? Fluff doesn't look like he's going to be able to join us because he's got a full team that he's coaching and working with right now. Was still in the gym at 9 o'clock East Coast time, putting in work. And this is something that, like you said, limited resources. Imagine going back to what I said after the bowl game against LSU. Houston is a sleeping giant in football. Let's Rage Coogs Houston Roundball Review is a sleeping giant as well. Because if we were at full strength, there'd be a lot more that we could do. Um, but that being said, big thank you to again Nitas and to Giovanni for the super stickers on this show. Going to the intro, there's a soundbite where Kelvin Sampson says he doesn't let them forget where they come from, and we will never. Listen. There's no such you could give us a penny, and I will be happy. We would be happy. We would be satisfied because at the end of the day, y'all, no one has to give us anything. So
it all
big,
adds up, truly.
yes, sir. So big thank you to all of y'all, to all our viewers that comment, consistent commenters. Like big thank you for engaging. If you've ever stopped us at a game or walking down, heading towards a football game, like that all it adds up and like shoot, it never gets old. I can always say, really, it's an awesome feeling because it goes to show that it's appreciated and I mean quite frankly in something that's very easy to get lost in and sometimes it could be like hey we're just shooting out in the void. So big thank you to y'all for that constant support because without y'all we'd just be over here yapping and we'd be alumni that are yapping and you guys really give us a voice and that's one of the reasons why the Big 12 office credentials us within a span of 24 hours.
Indeed, and as always, salute to you for having the idea of this show. This was your idea to have a post-game show for Houston, for college post-game show for Houston football and men's basketball. And now other colleagues are doing their own podcasts, their own post-game shows. But Let's Rage Coogs is the original. We were the first. And the support is growing.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I hear it. I get emails. I see posts on my Facebook, Houston Roundball Review Facebook page. More and more people are commenting on there and starting to like the Facebook page. So we're still the little engine, and we're showing, and we're growing, and we appreciate. We like this new platform that we're using. It's different platform, but as always, salute to everybody, and it's going to wrap it up in a reminder to watch High Noon on my channel, Houston Roundball Review Takeover, and I'll have post game comments from Johnny Dawkins and the Cougs, and we'll wrap it up. And just keep this in mind: I've been around a long time, but I still have room to grow. I continue doing this because I have a passion for it. But since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review, local name, global perspective.
That's Fluff's favorite. You got it down pat. You got it memorized, Kris. Couple things. Just wanted to give a quick score update. Houston's next opponent, BYU.
Oh yeah, that's it.
They're in a battle right now with Oklahoma State. The Cowboys actually lead BYU 67-62 with about 10 minutes left, just under 10 minutes left.
Yeah, real quick, I saw
in
the
the
question
second
about
half.
it. How the Cougs going to defend AJ DeBonsa? Like they defend everybody. Houston Cougar defense.
Yeah.
But it's not just AJ. It's also Richie Saunders and Rob Wright. There are different guys on their team that Houston has to pay attention to. And I'm sure Coach will talk about it. I think the Zoom call, the game is Saturday.
Thursday. It'll probably be Thursday.
So probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
The call, because they're probably going to leave Friday. But they play Houston Cougars defense. So make AJ work. Make him take as many shots as possible. Make him be an inefficient scorer. So that means take a lot of shots, 20, 25 shots, and only score 20 points. Don't send him to the foul line. But Richie Saunders has played against the Cougs before. So he's faced the Houston Cougar defense. So Wright has as well played at Baylor, point guard at Baylor. So different guys have stepped up and faced the Cougars defense. It's going to be different for AJ. They can tell him all that. Yeah, AJ, Cougars more physical. Blah, blah, blah. He's going to experience it on Saturday. We'll see how he responds.
Yeah.
And that's a must win for them, because if they lose tonight against Oklahoma State, BYU's
and then they lose to Houston, they might be unranked by next week.
Need that win. They're going to have to really lock in.
Yeah. Oklahoma State just scored again, so 71-64 with 8:33 left in the second half. So we're gonna go see how that game ends. Last thing, once again, big thank you to Steve Saxenian, Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Star Pizza for being sponsors on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs. The final score from the Fertitta Center on this Wednesday, February 4th, the Houston Cougars come away with the 79-55 victory over UCF, a UCF team that entered this game winners of 3 straight. Kingston Flemings bounced back from his shooting woes this past Saturday against Cincinnati. He had an efficient 18 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 6 assists, 1 turnover, added 3 rebounds. Chris Anak had another double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds, and Milos Uzan rounded out the Cougs in double figures. Scoring-wise, he had 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists with only 1 turnover himself. For Houston, again, next game, Saturday night, is going to be a late tip-off, Houston time, Central Time. It'll be at 9:30 p.m. Tip-off. That game will be on ESPN at BYU from Provo. So let's see how Houston fares against the BYU Cougars. So,
wow.
Hey, that'll be about 11 to 12 a.m. Let's Rage Coogs. So, hey, join us for hashtag FRC After Dark. Hunter Ange, thank you for stay tuned. Stay tuned at that March.
Just stay tuned.
March.
Stay tuned. Yep.
But appreciate it. Big thank you to everyone that commented. If you're watching streaming on demand after not watching us live, big thank you as well. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And again, last thing, If you are interested in being a sponsor, helping us out in the Big 12 tournament, NCAA tournament potentially, or if you're just helping us out being a sponsor on the show, that's the email to do it. That's ragecoogs@gmail.com. Big thank you to everyone. We'll see you on Saturday night, maybe Sunday morning, depending on what time the game ends for everything that happens between Houston and BYU. Until then, go Cougs.